Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance and looked out at the stars. The ship was humanity's biggest and strongest warship. It was 3 miles long and packed with weapons that could destroy entire cities. But right now, Jake felt very small. The communication officer turned to him with a worried face. "Admiral, we have an incoming message from the Galactic Space Council. It's marked as urgent and official." Jake nodded. He had been expecting this call for weeks. Earth spy networks had picked up chatter about humanity's rapid expansion into space. The aliens were getting nervous about the new kids on the block. "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The screen flickered and showed a tall, thin alien with blue skin and 4 arms. Its voice was cold and formal when it spoke. "Greetings, Admiral Morrison. I am Ambassador Krulf of the Galactic Space Council. By order of the High Council, humanity is invited to present your military capabilities for review at the Nexus Station in 30 Earth days. This review will determine humanity's role in the galactic community." The message cut off without waiting for a reply. Jake stared at the blank screen and felt his stomach drop. Everyone on the bridge knew what this really meant. The Council wasn't asking. They were demanding. Commander Lisa Hayes walked over to Jake's command chair. She was his best tactical officer and had studied alien politics for years. "Admiral, this isn't good news. Every species that gets this invitation ends up as servants or slaves to the Council." Jake looked at the intelligence reports Lisa handed him. The Galactic Space Council controlled most of the galaxy through fear and superior technology. 12 powerful alien species made all the decisions for hundreds of weaker ones. They had been doing this for thousands of years. "What do we know about their military strength?" Jake asked. Lisa pulled up holographic displays showing massive alien warships. Their fleets could destroy Earth in minutes. The Zephyrian Empire alone has over 1,000 ships that can crack planets in half. The Vorthan Collective uses crystal technology we don't understand. And those are just 2 of the 12-member species. Captain Ryan Stone's voice came through the communication system from his ship, the UE's Vengeance. "Admiral, my sensors are picking up alien scout ships near the outer colonies. They're watching us." Jake wasn't surprised. The Council always gathered intelligence before making their move. They wanted to know exactly what humanity could do before deciding how to use them. "Ryan, form up with us. We're going to need all 3 ships for this mission." Jake ordered. Captain Steve Miller from the science vessel UE Discovery joined the conversation. "Admiral Dr. Foster wants to speak with you privately. She says it's about the special project." Jake felt a spark of hope. Dr. Amanda Foster had been working on something secret for months. Something that might change everything. "Tell her to meet me in Conference Room Alpha in 10 minutes. Jake walked through the corridors of his ship and saw the faces of his crew. They were scared but trying to hide it. These men and women had signed up to explore space and defend humanity. Now they might be flying into a trap that could doom their entire species. Dr. Amanda Foster was waiting for him in the conference room. She was a small woman with tired eyes, but Jake knew she was the smartest person on the ship. Maybe the smartest person in human space. "Amanda, please tell me you have good news," Jake said as he sat down. She smiled for the first time in weeks. "I think I do, Admiral. The dark matter project is working. We can manipulate space itself." Jake leaned forward. "Explain it to me like I'm 5 years old." "Dark matter makes up most of the universe, but we can't see it or touch it normally. I found a way to control it using quantum field generators. We can bend space, create gravity wells, even phase our ships in and out of normal reality." "What does that mean for weapons and defense?" Amanda's eyes lit up. "It means we can do things the Council thinks are impossible. We can make black holes as weapons. We can make our ships untouchable. We can travel through dimensions they don't know exist. Jake felt his heart racing. How many people know about this? Just me and my team of 6 scientists. We built the systems in secret and installed them on all 3 ships last month. I've been running tests when everyone else was sleeping. And it actually works? Amanda nodded. Better than I hoped. Admiral, we're not just going to that meeting as humans anymore. We're going as something new. Something they've never seen before. Jake stood up and paced around the room. This changed everything. Humanity didn't have to go begging to the council. They could go as equals, maybe more than equals. Amanda, I need you to make sure those systems are perfect. No mistakes. No failures. The future of every human being depends on your work. She stood up straighter. Yes, sir. The systems will be ready. Jake returned to the bridge and looked at his crew with new eyes. They didn't know it yet, but they were about to make history. Humanity had always been the underdog species. Too young, too weak, too primitive. But sometimes the underdog surprises everyone. Set course for the Nexus station, Jake ordered. And send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we're going to show the galaxy what humans can really do. The 3 human ships turned toward their destination. Behind them, Earth continued spinning. In space, unaware that its children were about to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Council expected to meet another weak species ready to submit. Instead, they were about to meet humanity's future. The Nexus station grew larger on the view screen as the 3 human ships approached. Admiral Jake Morrison had seen pictures of it before, but seeing it in person was different. The station was bigger than Earth's moon and shaped like a giant metal flower with 12 petals. Each petal belonged to one of the Council species. My God, whispered the communications officer. How did they build something so huge? Commander Lisa Hayes checked her instruments. Admiral, I'm counting over. 300 alien warships around the station. They're arranged in attack formations. Jake nodded grimly. The Council wasn't even trying to hide their intentions. This was supposed to be a diplomatic meeting, but it looked more like a military trap. Every ship out there could probably destroy all 3 human vessels without breaking a sweat. Captain Ryan Stone's voice came through from the UE's Vengeance. Admiral, those Zephyrian dreadnoughts are the size of small cities. My tactical computer says each one carries enough firepower to glass an entire planet. I see them, Ryan. Stay calm and keep our weapons powered down. We don't want to give them an excuse to start shooting before we're ready. Captain Steve Miller from the U.S. Discovery added his report. Admiral, they're scanning us with everything they've got. Active sensors, passive readers, quantum analyzers. They want to know exactly what we're carrying. Jake smiled coldly. Let them scan. They would find standard human technology, basic fusion reactors, and conventional weapons. The dark matter systems were hidden so well that even human engineers couldn't find them without knowing exactly where to look. Dr. Amanda Foster appeared on his private communication channel. Admiral, the systems are ready. All 3 ships are connected through quantum entanglement. When we activate, we'll be able to coordinate perfectly. Good work, Amanda. How are you feeling? She looked tired but determined, scared and excited. At the same time, we're about to find out if humans really are as clever as we think we are. A new voice interrupted their conversation. It was deep and threatening, speaking perfect English with a strange accent. Human vessels, you will dock at Bay 94. You will bring only 5 representatives. You will submit to security screening. Any deviation from these orders will be considered an act of war. Jake looked at Lisa. Friendly bunch, aren't they? That was a Zephyrian voice pattern, Lisa said. Probably their military commander. They're the Council's attack dogs. The human ships moved slowly toward the docking bay. As they got closer, Jake could see alien ships everywhere. Some looked like living creatures made of metal. Others were geometric shapes that hurt to look at. A few seemed to be made of pure energy held together by force fields. "Admiral," Lisa said quietly, "I've been studying these species for years, but seeing their technology up close is intimidating. Some of these ships use physics we don't understand." Jake watched a crystal ship phase in and out of reality as it moved. "The Vorthan Collective?" "Yes, sir. They're older than recorded history. Their technology makes ours look like stone knives and bearskins." As they docked, Jake could feel the weight of hundreds of alien sensors studying his ship. He knew they were measuring everything from hull thickness to reactor output. They wanted to know exactly how easy it would be to destroy humanity if negotiations went badly. "All right, people," Jake announced to his crew. "Remember, we're here to represent not just ourselves, but every human being who will ever live. Make them count." The docking tube sealed with a hiss, and Jake led his small team toward the station. Besides himself, he brought Lisa, Dr. Foster, and 2 Marines for protection. Not that 2 Marines would help much if things went wrong. First thing Jake noticed was the gravity. It was heavier than Earth normal, probably set to favor the larger alien species. The air smelled strange too, like ozone and metal with hints of things he couldn't identify. They were met by a group of alien guards. The leader was 8 feet tall with 4 arms and scales like armor. Its eyes were bright yellow and showed no emotion at all. "I am Commander Zektal of the Zephyrian Empire. You will follow me to the chambers. You will not speak unless spoken to. You will not touch anything. You will not make any sudden movements." Jake nodded politely. "We understand. We're here to talk, not cause trouble." As they walked through the station corridors, Jake saw other alien species for the first time. Some were beautiful in an otherworldly way. Others were nightmare creatures that made his skin crawl. All of them stopped to stare at the humans like they were exotic zoo animals. The corridors were huge, designed for species much larger than humans. The walls were covered with symbols and writing in dozens of different languages. Jake felt very small and very alone. "Admiral," Lisa whispered, "those energy beings floating near the ceiling are Nexari. They can read thoughts if they get close enough." Jake kept his face calm, but inside he was worried. If the aliens could read minds, they might discover the secret of the dark matter technology before he was ready to reveal it. They reached a massive door that was at least 50 feet tall. It opened silently, revealing the council chambers beyond. Jake took a deep breath and stepped forward. Behind him, Dr. Foster carried the future of humanity in her small hands. The chambers were even more intimidating than Jake had imagined. 12 raised platforms surrounded a central area where he would have to stand. Each platform held representatives of species that had ruled the galaxy since before humans learned to make fire. High Chancellor Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire looked down at them with obvious contempt. His voice echoed through the chamber when he spoke. "So these are the humans. Small, weak, primitive. I wonder why we even bothered with this meeting." Jake felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice steady. "We're here because you invited us. We're ready to show you what humanity can do." Vextar laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Oh, little human, you have no idea what you're really here for." Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the center of the council chambers and felt like an ant surrounded by giants. The 12 alien species looked down at him from their high platforms. Some had too many eyes. Others had no eyes at all. A few glowed with their own light. All of them radiated power and contempt. High Chancellor Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire spoke first. His voice boomed through the chamber like thunder. "Humans, you have expanded into council space without permission. You have built colonies on worlds we had marked for future use. You have acted like children playing with toys they do not understand." Jake kept his face calm even though his heart was racing. We didn't know those worlds belonged to anyone. We were just looking for new homes for our people. Vextar's laugh was cruel and sharp. Ignorance is not an excuse. The Council has ruled this galaxy for 50,000 years. Every species learns their place eventually. A crystalline being on another platform began to speak. Its voice sounded like singing bells. The Vorthan Collective has observed your species. For some time, you show promise but lack wisdom. Your technology is primitive. Your ships are crude. Your weapons are laughable. Commander Lisa Hayes stood next to Jake and whispered very quietly, "They're trying to make us feel small and helpless before they give us our orders." Jake nodded slightly. This was all part of the show. Make the new species feel weak and scared, then offer them a choice between slavery and death. It had worked on hundreds of other species over the millennia that an insect-like creature with 6 arms clicked its mandibles. The Hive Collective suggests immediate integration. Your species could serve as workers in our mining operations. You would be fed and housed. You would be safe. Safe as slaves, Jake thought to himself. High Chancellor Vextar raised one of his 4 arms for silence. Enough discussion. Human Admiral, you will now demonstrate your military capabilities. We will observe and judge whether your species has any value to the Council. Jake had been waiting for this moment. We would be honored to show you what humanity can do. However, our demonstration will require us to return to our ships. Several aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. Vextar's yellow eyes gleamed with amusement. Of course, little human. Run back to your toys. We will watch from here and try not to be too disappointed. Jake bowed politely. Thank you for your patience. I think you'll find our demonstration interesting. As Jake and his team walked back through the station corridors, Dr. Amanda Foster whispered urgently, "Admiral, are you sure about this? Once we show them what we can do, there's no going back." There was never any going back, Amanda. They've already decided to enslave or destroy us. Our only choice is to show them they picked the wrong species to mess with. Captain Ryan Stone's voice came through Jake's communicator. "Admiral, the alien fleets are moving into better attack positions. Whatever you're planning, you better do it fast." "Understood, Ryan. Is everyone ready?" Captain Steve Miller answered from the Discovery. "All systems are green, Admiral. Dr. Foster's modifications are working perfectly." Jake reached his ship and hurried to the bridge. Through the view screen, he could see hundreds of alien warships waiting for humanity's pathetic display of power. Some of the aliens were probably placing bets on how quickly the human ships would be destroyed. "Amanda, are you ready?" Jake asked. Doctor. Foster nodded and placed her hands on the control panel she had built. Dark matter manipulation systems are online. Quantum field generators are at full power. All 3 ships are synchronized. Jake opened a channel to the Council chambers. "High Chancellor Vextar, we are ready to begin our demonstration. Proceed, human. Show us these primitive weapons of yours." Jake looked at Amanda and nodded. "Do it." Dr. Foster pressed a series of buttons and spoke a single word. "Activate." The effect was immediate and shocking. Space around the 3 human ships began to bend and twist. Reality itself seemed to ripple like water. The ships started to phase in and out of normal space, becoming translucent one moment and solid the next. On the Council station, alien sensors went crazy. Warning alarms started blaring. Several species began shouting in their own languages. The arrogant expressions on their faces changed to confusion and then to fear. The huge defiance created a localized gravity well that bent light around it. The ship became invisible to most sensors while still being perfectly functional. The UE's vengeance opened a small wormhole and traveled through it, appearing instantly on the other side of the testing area. But the real shock came when the UES Discovery demonstrated the weapon's capability. Dr. Foster had set up several large asteroids as targets. Instead of shooting them with lasers or missiles, the Discovery manipulated dark matter to create a micro-black hole. The first asteroid didn't explode. It didn't break apart. It simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there. The next moment there was nothing but empty space and a flash of energy as its matter was converted to pure power. The second asteroid was pulled apart atom by atom as the Discovery created a gravity field that ripped it to pieces at the molecular level. The third asteroid was compressed into a sphere the size of a marble, so dense that it would have weighed as much as a mountain dot in the council chambers. Absolute silence fell for the first time in recorded history. Species that had conquered thousands of worlds sat speechless. Beings that had lived for millions of years stared in disbelief. High Chancellor Vextar's voice was barely a whisper. Impossible. Dark matter cannot be controlled. We tried for millennia and failed. The crystalline Vorthan representative made sounds like breaking glass. Our calculations show this technology should not exist. The power requirements alone should destroy any ship that attempts it. Jake's voice came through the chamber speakers. Calm and steady. Honorable Council members, this concludes our demonstration. Humanity looks forward to discussing our mutual cooperation as equals in the galactic community. The word equals hit the chamber like a bomb. No species had spoken to the Council as equals in 50,000 years. But now, with the power to manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe, humanity wasn't asking for permission anymore. They were announcing their arrival as a major galactic power, and everyone in that chamber knew that the galaxy would never be the same again. The silence in the council chambers was so complete that Admiral Jake Morrison could hear his own heartbeat. 12 of the most powerful species in the galaxy sat frozen in shock. Some stared at the view screen showing empty space where asteroids used to be. Others looked at their instruments that couldn't explain what they had just witnessed. High Chancellor Vestar of the Zephyrian Empire was the first to speak. His voice cracked like old leather. How is this possible? Our scientists said dark matter manipulation was impossible. We have tried for thousands of years. Jake stood calmly in the center of the chamber. Inside, he was screaming with joy, but his face showed nothing. Humans have always been good at solving impossible problems. We don't give up easily. The crystalline being from the Vorthan Collective made sounds like wind chimes in a storm. Our species has existed since the galaxy was young. We have seen the birth and death of stars. We abandoned dark matter research when our greatest minds proved it could not be done. Commander Lisa Hayes whispered to Jake, "Look at their faces. They're terrified." She was right. These beings had ruled the galaxy through fear and superior technology for 50,000 years. Suddenly, a species they thought was primitive had shown them technology that made their greatest weapons look like toys. Captain Ryan Stone's voice came through Jake's communicator. "Admiral, you should see what's happening out here. Half the alien fleets are backing away from us. The other half look like they're preparing to run." Jake wasn't surprised. The demonstration had used only a tiny fraction of their capabilities, but it was enough to change everything. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted completely. Captain Steve Miller added his report. "Admiral, I'm reading massive energy spikes from the alien ships. Their weapons are charging, but they can't decide whether to attack or retreat." An insect-like being with 6 arms clicked its mandibles nervously. "The Hive Collective wishes to know, are there more human ships? How many of your people possess this technology?" Jake smiled slightly. "Enough." It was a lie, but they didn't need to know that. Only 3 ships had the dark matter systems, and only Dr. Foster truly understood how they worked. But the aliens didn't know that. And uncertainty was a powerful weapon, a floating energy being pulsed different colors as it spoke. The Nexari consciousness demands to know your intentions. Will you use this power to conquer as we have done? This was the question Jake had been waiting for. The one that would determine humanity's future in the galaxy. We didn't come here to conquer anyone. We came because you summoned us. We demonstrated our capabilities because you demanded it. All we want is to be left alone to live our lives. In peace, High Chancellor Vextar stood up on his platform. Even from a distance, Jake could see that his hands were shaking. You cannot expect us to simply ignore this development. Your species now possesses technology that threatens the stability of the Galactic Order. The Galactic Order that involves enslaving weaker species? Jake asked quietly. The chamber fell silent again. Jake had just said what everyone was thinking. But no one dared to speak. The Council's rule was based on might makes right. They conquered and enslaved because they could. Now someone else had the bigger stick. Dr. Amanda Foster stepped forward. She looked tiny next to Jake, but her voice carried clearly through the chamber. Honored Council members, humanity offers to share some of our knowledge in exchange for peaceful coexistence. We could help you solve problems that have troubled your species for millennia. Several aliens began talking at once in their own languages. Jake caught fragments through his translator. Words like impossible, dangerous, and opportunity kept coming up. The Vorthon Collective's representative spoke again. What would you want in return for this knowledge? Recognition as equals, Jake said simply. A seat on the council with full voting rights. And an end to the practice of forcing weaker species into slavery. High Chancellor Vextar's yellow eyes blazed with anger. You dare to make demands? You are still just one species against 12. Jake's smile was cold as winter. Are we? Captain Stone, please give our friends a demonstration of our defensive capabilities. Through the view screen, everyone watched as the UES Vengeance phased completely out of normal space. For a moment, it was invisible to all sensors. Then it reappeared behind the largest Zephyrian dreadnought, close enough to touch its hull. Our weapons are now targeted on your flagship's reactor core, Jake said calmly. At this range, we could destroy it before your shields could even activate. But we won't, because we're not monsters like you. The UES Vengeance phased away again, returning to its original position. The message was clear. Humanity could strike anywhere, anytime, without warning. Vextar fell back into his chair. His entire body was trembling now. The most feared military commander in the galaxy looked like a scared child. Other council members began whispering among themselves. Some looked angry, others frightened. A few seemed curious about humanity's offer of cooperation. A new voice spoke from the shadows. It belonged to a species Jake had never seen before. Tall, thin, and glowing with soft blue light. The ethereal assembly has remained neutral in galactic politics for 10,000 years. But we recognize wisdom when we see it. Humanity offers evolution instead of destruction. Perhaps it is time for the galaxy to change. Jake felt a spark of hope. Not all of the council species were warmongers. Some might be willing to work with humanity instead of against them. High Chancellor Vextar tried to regain his authority. This council will not be dictated to by primitives. We have ruled this galaxy since you were the strongest, Jake interrupted. But you're not anymore. The question now is whether you're wise enough to accept that fact. The chamber erupted in alien voices as species that had been silent for centuries began to speak. Some demanded war. Others called for negotiation. A few suggested retreat to their home systems. Jake stood in the center of it all, calm and patient. He had said his piece. Now it was time to see whether the galaxy was ready to grow up. The age of council domination was over. The age of cooperation was about to begin, whether the aliens liked it or not. 1 week had passed since the demonstration that changed everything. Admiral Jake Morrison sat in what used to be called the council chambers, but now it had a new name, the Galactic Assembly. For the first time in 50,000 years, the room buzzed with real discussion instead of orders from the powerful to the weak. The most amazing chose his own seat. Where once 12 species had ruled over hundreds, now there were 13. Equals, the human chair was made of earth oak, simple but strong. It sat at the same level as all the others, a symbol that no species was more important than any other. High Chancellor Vextar looked much older than he had a week ago. His scales had lost their shine, and his yellow eyes showed defeat. The Zephyrian Empire formally recognizes humanity as an equal member of this assembly, he said through gritted teeth. It had taken 3 days of argument, but even the most stubborn council members finally accepted reality. Humanity had the power to destroy them all, but instead offered partnership. Some aliens couldn't understand this mercy. Others saw it as wisdom. Commander Lisa Hayes entered the chamber and handed Jake a datapad. Admiral, the reports are coming in from across the galaxy. 17 species have declared independence from their former masters. The Rigel colonies are asking for human protection. The mining worlds want to join our trade network. Jake smiled as he read the reports. The galaxy was changing faster than anyone had expected. Species that had been slaves for thousands of years were suddenly free. Some didn't know what to do with their freedom, but they were learning. Captain Ryan Stone's voice came through the communicator. Admiral, patrol report from Sector 7. We found 3 Zephyrian ships attacking the civilian transport. They surrendered as soon as they saw us coming. Good work, Ryan. Make sure the civilians are safe, then escort the Zephyrians to the nearest assembly station for judgment. This was the new reality. Human ships patrolled space that used to belong to the Council species. Not as conquerors, but as peacekeepers. The former rulers didn't like it, but they had learned not to challenge humanity's authority. Dr. Amanda Foster walked into the chamber, carrying a small device that glowed with soft blue light. Admiral, I have good news from the research station. The Vorthan scientists have been very helpful. We're making progress on medical applications for dark matter technology. The crystalline Vorthan representative chimed like silver bells. Dr. Foster's insights have solved problems that have puzzled us for millions of years. The collective is honored to work with human scientists. Not all of the former council members had adapted so well. 3 species had withdrawn to their home systems and refused all contact. 2 others had tried to form an alliance against humanity. But their fleets were no match for ships that could appear and disappear at will. Captain Steve Miller entered with his own report. Admiral, the rescue mission to Kepler Station was successful. We evacuated 2,000 slaves before their masters could stop us. They're asking permission to settle on one of our colony worlds. Granted, Jake said immediately. Make sure they have everything they need. This was happening all across the galaxy. Humans were freeing slaves, protecting the weak, and building something new. It wasn't easy work, and some days Jake wondered if they had bitten off more than they could. Chew. An insect like being clicked its mandibles nervously. The Hive Collective wishes to discuss the new trade agreements. Our workers need food imports from human agricultural worlds. Of course, Jake replied. But your workers will be paid fair wages, and they can leave anytime they want. No more forced labor. The insect being's antennae drooped. The hive had used slave labor for so long they barely remembered how to pay wages. But they were learning, just like everyone else. A floating energy being pulsed different colors as it spoke. The Nexari consciousness reports that the younger species are adapting well to freedom. However, some of the older civilizations are struggling with the changes. Jake nodded. He expected that. Species that had ruled through force for thousands of years wouldn't change overnight. Some might never change. But their children might, and their children's children definitely would. The most surprising change came from an unexpected source. The ethereal assembly, which had stayed neutral for 10,000 years, had become humanity's strongest supporters. Their representative glowed brighter as she spoke. Humanity has brought hope to species that had forgotten what hope looked like. The Assembly pledges to support the new Galactic Order with all our resources. Jake stood up and looked around the chamber. A week ago, he had been terrified of this place. Now it felt like home. Not because humans controlled it, but because it was finally what it should have been all along. A place where all species could work together as equals. "My friends," Jake said, using words that would have been impossible a week earlier, "we have a lot of work ahead of us. Building a free galaxy won't happen overnight. There will be problems, conflicts, and setbacks. But for the first time in 50,000 years, every species has a voice." He paused and looked directly at the former council members. "Some of you are angry about losing your power. Others are scared about the future. But I promise you this, humanity will not become the new tyrants. We will protect the weak, but we will not rule them. We will share our technology, but we will not force our ways on others." Dr. Foster stepped forward with her glowing device. "The dark matter research continues to advance. Soon we'll be able to offer clean energy to every world, healing technology for every species, and transportation systems that make the galaxy feel smaller and more connected." As Jake looked around the chamber, he saw something that had been missing for millennia: hope. Not just in human eyes, but in alien ones too. The galaxy was finally growing up. The meeting ended with plans for new colonies, trade routes, and research projects. As the various species filed out, Jake remained in his chair, thinking about the future. His communicator buzzed with a message from Earth. "Admiral Morrison, this is President Martinez. The entire planet is proud of what you've accomplished. Come home soon." Jake smiled and looked out at the stars through the chamber's great window. Home seemed very far away, but the galaxy felt closer than ever. Humanity had set out to explore the stars and found something better than new worlds. They had found their purpose among the stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians of freedom. And the galaxy would never be the same.